Welcome to the Jill on Money Coronavirus Market Update. It is Friday morning, and that means I have the results of yesterday's release of weekly jobless claims. An additional 2.438 million Americans filed for unemployment claims. And you know what's crazy about that? Now that we're at 38.6 million over the last 9 weeks, there's even more because we also know that the self-employed were previously not counted in the numbers that have been reported over the last 8 weeks. The numbers are staggering. They're horrible. And we're hoping at some point they go down more substantially. I'm keeping my eye on continuing claims. That means that people who are already receiving unemployment benefits, that number rose again. It's at 25 million. So unless we start to see that level off and drop, it's hard to say that the worst of this is over. So remember, that's the news. It's changing day to day, but your questions, they are still the main forces behind this show. So if you have a question, please, please, please just give us a holler. It's so easy. Just email us, askjill@jillonmoney.com. I got an interesting note from the IRS, which reminds me that the economic impact payments, remember those $1,200 checks and $2,400 for couples and $500, they want to make sure that if you don't get money you think you deserve or vice versa, that you go to the IRS website. But they also note that you could get an adjustment next year. So don't freak out too much about that, all right? All right, let's go to your questions. Marit or Marit writes, thank you and Mark for sharing your knowledge during the epic economic times. I just retired as a registered nurse in 2019 after 35 years of birthing babies. I love my job. I have a yearly pension of $70,000, $1 million in a 403b, 70 grand in a Roth IRA, 200,000 in a savings account. I've just turned 65. I will take Social Security in the next couple of years. Can I contribute to my Roth IRA? I don't have earned income. I would be using some of the cash. No, if you have earned income, that's when you can contribute to a Roth. You cannot do it once you're retired. Now, the other piece of this is if you want to start shifting some of your money from your 403b into a Roth, then potentially you could start to do that. Maybe because you want to control the tax liability. But you can't make any new Roth contributions unless you start moonlighting. Maybe you're going to do that and potentially find yourself some extra income. But unless you've got earned income, cannot use a Roth. Judy writes, I'm in my 30s. I listen to your show religiously to get smart on the money topics I missed out on in my 20s. One of the things that my brain will not compute is the difference between an index fund and an exchange traded fund. My husband, friends, and parents have tried to explain it every which way. I've read a billion Google definitions. Somehow, even with a post-grad degree, I can't get the two separate. Here's one, blah, 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 blah. Help, what do you think? They are very similar. So let's start with that. They're both pooled assets. An exchange traded fund and an index fund, presuming the exchange traded fund is also based on an index, have the same premise. There's a fixed basket of stuff. The fund goes out and buys that stuff. You can buy fractional shares of those pooled assets. The big difference between a mutual fund, index fund, and an ETF index fund is that the ETF trades intraday like a stock. You can sell it at 9:35 a.m. You can sell it at 10:05 a.m. You can sell it at 3:30 p.m. When you sell a mutual fund or buy it, it's based on the price after the market has closed for the day. So the best way to think about it is they're pretty much the same. One can be traded during trading hours. One is based on the closing of the session that day. Okay? Another Judy writes, original stimulus money still not received. Many of our friends have received payments, mostly direct deposited, because that's how they receive their income tax refunds. However, we always receive a refund check. That's it. It's the whole paper thing. So once you file with a paper return and get paper checks, Everything is gummed up. Another reason why you should be using electronic filing as much as possible. Okay, Ron writes, thank you. Thank you for your book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do with Their Money. I hate to be called dumb, but there were some things that I was doing that definitely qualified. Since listening to your book twice in 2 weeks, my wife and I have met with an attorney to get a trust, a will, and all those other end of life documents. I've balanced my 401k. I put some money into bonds. I'm 60, and that was hard for me. Everything else falls within what you taught. My mutual funds are based on S&P 500 index. My wife and I will not be rich, but we will be comfortable for retirement. Thank you for being snarky enough to get me off center on some things I should have done well before these past 2 weeks. Wow, that was so good. Thank you so much. Wow, that's a great way. It's very gratifying, man. It's amazing to get that kind of feedback from you. So I appreciate it, and really appreciate anyone who's purchased the book. Really appreciate you writing to say that you've made these great changes in your life. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you all for listening to this podcast. Now it's a long weekend for most of us, not everybody. And that means that we're going to do something a little different this weekend. We're going to try to give you a break in the action from my voice. Mark's going to make this happen. I'm pretty sure it's going to be fantastic. We're going to have 3 great episodes that we hope you really enjoy. You'll check it out in your feed. But for now, it is the beginning of the weekend, and that just means that you might be perseverating about your money. If so, you send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. If not, you enjoy what we're going to pop into your feed over the next 3 days. And remember to wash your hands and take some walks and be socially distant and wear your masks and lift somebody up this weekend. Do something nice. And maybe if you've got somebody who is in the military or you know somebody who has served, you reach out, make that be a touch point. Thank you guys for listening. As always, I really do appreciate it. Remember, our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer, and we're distributed by Cadence 13. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.